He was a musical genius who never wanted the spotlight, so he poured his soul into teaching her. She took his songs, his advice, and became the world's #1 pop star, destroying his dream in the process. 3 years after he quit music entirely to escape her shadow, she walks back into his life with a shocking request that will change everything. This is the story of the creator and the masterpiece that broke him. In the bustling heart of the city, a giant screen displays Japan's latest sensation, Suda Natsumi, announcing her new album to the adoring public. The crowd below buzzes with excitement, chattering about her popularity and how cute she is. But amidst the noise, one young man, Iyama Yukiya, stands apart, his earphones firmly in place. He deliberately tunes out the sounds of the city, determined to avoid the one thing overflowing in this world that he wants no part of. His peaceful solitude is short-lived, however, as back at his job in a bookstore, his boss yanks him back to reality. "Iyama-kun, I told you there was a customer behind you. When will you learn? You're wearing earphones at work again." Annoyed, Yama thinks to himself that if they'd just stop playing her music on the store's radio, he wouldn't need them. Everywhere he goes, it's always Suda Natsumi. His boss asks if he doesn't like the song, but Iyama replies with a heavy heart, "No, it's a great song." Which is exactly why I don't like it, because it's exactly what I want to create. Just then, the sound of books clattering to the floor snaps him out of his thoughts. As he turns to apologize, he freezes. Standing before him with a knowing smile is the very person he's been trying to escape. "You really don't ever stop being clumsy, Yukiya," she says. The other customers gasp in shock. It's the real Suda Natsumi. Flustered, Yukiya can only stammer, "Suda-san, what are you doing here?" She giggles, explaining she got his workplace from his mom, cheekily reminding him that he'd blocked all her calls and messages 3 years ago. Then her smile fades slightly as she gets to the real reason for her visit, asking the one question he's been dreading. "Hey, Yukiya, are you not writing songs anymore?" His face hardens instantly. "I'm not," he says coldly. "I only made them for myself. If that's all you came here for, you're just being a bother." Unfazed by his harsh words, she simply tells him not to make such a scary face before promising to come again and leaving. Once she's gone, his boss reveals his surprise. "You know Suda Natsumi?" Yukiya confirms they were high school classmates, leaving him to wonder why, after all this time, she suddenly appeared asking if he still makes music. His mind drifts back to a hot day in June, years ago. He and Suda are on the school roof, skipping class. He asks why they can't just go back to the classroom, but she simply remarks that it wouldn't make a difference. With a playful smile, she reveals his secret. "I know that you're composing songs." As he reels in shock, thinking of himself as nothing more than a shitty, serious loner, she laughs. "Aren't we the same? I'm the shitty, nonchalant type, so the shitty part doesn't change." Then, leaning in, she adds, "On that note, I worked on my song using the advice you gave me. Mind listening to it?" He looks at her, intrigued, and simply says, "Go ahead." The memory is vivid. A sun-drenched scene on the school rooftop. As Suda Natsumi played her guitar, her voice filling the air with a melody full of joy, Yukiya found himself completely captivated, a gentle smile gracing his lips. That cherished memory, however, feels a lifetime away from his current reality. Sitting in a dull university lecture hall, Yukiya tries his best to blend in, but his peace is shattered when a hooded figure suddenly leans over his shoulder and whispers, "Yo." He jumps out of his skin, shocked to see Natsumi herself, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Furious, Yukiya demands to know why she's at his university, threatening to have the professor kick her out. But Natsumi just laughs, teasing him before warning that if everyone finds out they know each other, his calm student life will come to an abrupt end. Getting serious, Yukiya asks what she really wants. "It's exactly what I told you before," she says, her playful demeanor fading. He bluntly states that he's stopped making music, that he can't do it anymore. She simply tells him to start again, her voice softening as she pleads, "I want to hear your songs again, Yukiya, because I like 'em, you know?" But to Yukiya, hearing these words from a world-famous pop star who debuted while they were still in school sounds like nothing but cruel sarcasm. Sensing his disbelief, Natsumi assures him she wouldn't come all this way just to mock him. She's being serious. She explains that as a professional artist, she's stood on countless stages and seen the world. And while it was fun, she admits that none of it, not the fame or the success, could ever beat the simple joy of those times they spent together. Skipping classes, making music just for the two of them. That was when she got to sing with him. The memory hits Yukiya like a tidal wave. He realizes that his own songs only truly blossomed because of her. How could he have ever forgotten that? Then, Natsumi drops a bombshell. Her throat is in trouble, and she's scheduled for surgery soon, likely from overworking herself. With a heavy heart, she reveals that if the operation fails, she might never be able to speak again. Leaving things unsaid won't solve anything. So, she continues, her voice filled with quiet desperation, as long as I still have my voice, I want to sing along to your music. With a bittersweet smile, she admits she just wants to go back to those fun high school days. She hands him a piece of paper with her contact information, telling him to stop by if he ever changes his mind. Just as the professor calls the class to order, she apologizes for being so pushy and slips away, leaving Yukiya stunned and conflicted. Holding her note, his mind drifts back even further, to the very beginning. He remembers trying to join the light music club, only for a teacher to warn him that the club was practically defunct and the last members were all problem children. She cautioned that a plain kid like him might just get bullied, but Yukiya didn't care. All he wanted was a place to make his music. Finding an abandoned guitar in the old music room, he decided it was perfect. Back then, music was just a hobby, something entirely his own. His memories drift back to that fateful day in the old music room. He was just minding his own business, plucking at an old guitar, completely lost in a melody that was all his own. It was just too enjoyable to stop, until a voice cut through his solitude. "Iyama-kun?" He looked up to see Suda Natsumi, the popular girl from his class, standing there. His mind instantly raced with panic. This was the worst-case scenario. He was at the bottom of the school's social ladder, and she, a queen bee, had just heard him sing. He was sure his school life was officially over, but her reaction was the last thing he expected. Getting uncomfortably close, she beamed, "That was really good. Can you play it one more time?" Flustered, he tried to refuse, certain he was about to become the school's laughingstock. But she was persistent, asking what song he was covering. When he stammered that it was his own original song, her eyes went wide with shock. He thought his life was truly over then, but instead, she grabbed his hands, her face lit up with pure amazement. "Amazing! You can become a pro like that." Still reeling from her enthusiasm, he was stunned by her next request. "If you're okay with it, why don't you teach me? I'd love to make songs, just like you do. I really like your songs after all." And just like that, an unlikely partnership was born. After that day, they would always meet up after class. On the school rooftop, their secret hideaway, they made lots of songs, singing together for hours, never growing tired of their shared passion. It was a time of pure, simple joy. But as their time together went on, a shift began to occur. Natsumi's natural talent started to shine, and she was improving at an incredible rate, at both singing and writing her own music, until he felt he had nothing left to teach her. One winter morning, she excitedly showed him a brand new song she'd written overnight. He tried to play it cool, telling her it was a good song before quickly trying to walk away. But the truth was, he was utterly floored. The song she showed him, it was leagues above anything he had ever created himself. It was a wonderful, brilliant song, and for the first time, he truly understood the immense potential and raw talent she possessed. He knew this was something the world needed to hear. Though she was nervous about the criticism she might face online, he encouraged her to upload it, wanting to see how the world would react to her genius. And, of course, it was a massive hit. The aftermath of her song's success was swift and overwhelming. In the end, Natsumi was quickly picked up by an agency, gathering non-stop success that culminated in the announcement of her first single and live concert. The news was everywhere, and a message from Natsumi herself offering him tickets felt like a final, devastating blow. That was the trigger. From that moment on, He could no longer bring himself to even touch his guitar. He tried to convince himself it was just a hobby, something he could quit whenever he wanted, and he promptly blocked her from all contact. But sitting alone, staring at a blank sheet of music paper, he knew it wasn't fun anymore. Her recent words echoed in his mind. "I'll undergo surgery soon. My throat's in trouble." Then, a sudden ding-dong slices through the pre-dawn silence. In her apartment, Natsumi groggily wonders who could possibly be visiting at 4 in the morning. On her intercom screen, she sees not only Yukiya's face, but also a sheet of fresh manuscript paper held up to the camera. "Can you see it?" he asks. Without a moment's hesitation, she grabs her guitar and bursts out of her apartment, running down the hall to where he stands waiting. She practically tackles him, snatching the music from his hands. "Let me see that," she exclaims, her face inches from his. "So fast, just show it to me." As her eyes trace the notes, a radiant smile blossoms on her face. "It's the song that I've always wanted to hear," she says, her voice filled with emotion. Yukiya can only think that this must mean he hasn't changed at all since high school. Looking up from the music, she asks him, "Say, Yukiya, do you think I've changed?" He doesn't have an answer, so she leads him to a nearby park, guitar in tow. As they sit on a bench under the dim streetlights, she begins to explain. "Although your songs are bright, they always have a small shadow to them. I like that a lot." When he defensively retorts that it's just because a loner like him made them, she surprises him. "I'm actually really jealous, you know, that you can write songs like that. The songs I write for work are all bright and straightforward, despite the fact that I'm not that kind of person. I also want to write gloomy, depressing songs." And with her honesty laid bare, Yukiya knew he had to confess his own ugly truth. "Listen," he begins, "and don't get angry. When I first heard about your surgery, I couldn't have been happier. Every time I saw your name, I was jealous. Because I didn't want to get hurt, I just let go of everything that I had liked." He continues his confession under the city lights, the words tumbling out of him. "That's why, when I first heard that you may not be able to sing anymore, that song just came up from inside of me." He hangs his head in shame, admitting to himself that he knows he's the worst kind of person, but he desperately wants to stop being this way. The memories are just too powerful. That time in high school, the fun, the frustration, it all refuses to disappear. His brain, he realizes, could never truly forget about Suda Natsumi. He apologizes for his disgusting confession, but she remains silent, her expression unreadable. Then she speaks. "What?" "That's just the same for me." She looks out at the city skyline, her voice steady as she delivers a revelation that stuns him. "No matter how much my songs sell, no matter how popular I ever get, I just cannot ever win against you, Yukiya." She explains that from the very first day she heard him play, she was completely overwhelmed by his talent. Even after 3 years of being a pro, she could never forget the impact and the frustration of that moment. She constantly felt that no matter what stage she stood on, she would always be overshadowed if he were there beside her. She had hoped those feelings would vanish over time, and she sought him out to finally see if she could win. But his new song, the one he wrote from his darkest feelings, proved that she hadn't. Gripping the sheet music, her mood suddenly shifts. A bright, determined smile breaks across her face as she stands up. "Hey, play the guitar a bit for me. I'll sing." He's taken aback, but he obliges. He had thought being the target of her jealousy would feel good, a small victory, but it felt like nothing. He realizes she must have known that, and that singing together was the only way for them to forget all the unnecessary, painful things that stood between them. As he plays, she begins to sing, and they lose track of time until the sun begins to rise. "It's morning," she notes with a small smile. "I guess both you and I are wicked spirits." Yukiya watches her, mesmerized. Her voice, blooming like a flower, overflows with hope. And yet, it fits perfectly with the darkness and servility woven into his song. As she finishes, she looks at him, a mix of hope and sadness in her eyes. "We're a good fit, right?" she asks, before predicting a future he can't yet see. "I'm sure you'll soon become a big pro, leaving me in the dust. Once it happens, I'll probably be jealous like crazy, and become unable to write cheerful songs like I am able to right now." With a smile that seems to chase away the last of the night's shadows, she accepts this future. "But that's fine," she says softly, "because you'll be the force driving me." Utterly confused, Yukiya can only ask what she means. She promises that once her operation is done, even if it ends in failure, she will still come to see him. Terrified by her words, he practically begs her to stop, insisting with a desperate certainty that her surgery will be a success. In that moment, she leans in, silencing his worries with a gentle kiss. As she pulls back, leaving him completely stunned, she whispers, "Stay just the way you are." The shared shock hangs in the air for a second before she suddenly jumps back, flustered, waving her hands in dismissal. "Ah, I'm going. I got work today." As she turns to leave, Yukiya scrambles to his feet, calling out, "Wait, if you'd still like to write songs, I can introduce you." But she's already running off, leaving him alone on the bench, wondering what on earth just happened. Sometime later, Yukiya finds himself in an office, presenting his song to a producer who is immediately impressed. "This song is great," the man says, suggesting he enter it into a competition. He admits he was worried when Suda Natsumi first brought him up, and then cheekily asks if Yukiya is her boyfriend. Yukiya vehemently denies it, leaving the producer to tease him about something clearly having happened between them, leaving Yukiya a blushing, stammering mess as the memory of her kiss flashes through his mind. The producer, Hattori, invites him out for ramen on the company's dime, and Yukiya, feeling lucky, gratefully accepts. He makes a mental note to thank Natsumi later, but his thanks can be delivered in person as she suddenly appears in the doorway, announcing she'll join them. As they meet, Yukiya's first concern is for her health, tentatively asking about her voice. With a brilliant, confident grin, Natsumi declares, "The surgery was a big success, so I can speak again just fine." Over bowls of ramen, a new dynamic begins to form. Natsumi and Hattori discuss Yukiya's creative style, agreeing that his talent thrives on negative energy and that he shouldn't be forced to write overly cheerful songs. Then, with a serious glint in her eye, Natsumi points her chopsticks at him. "And also, once you are a pro, the two of us will be rivals, okay?" Hattori is amused by the idea, calling Yukiya a promising newcomer and a rival to Suda herself. He then puts them on the spot, bluntly asking if they're lovers. The question throws Natsumi into a flustered panic as she remembers their kiss, while Yukiya silently begs her not to do anything stupid, terrified of online gossip. But before the awkwardness can fully set in, Natsumi grabs him, pulling him and Hattori into a selfie. "Look at the cam," she cheers. Moments later, she posts the picture online with a caption that perfectly reframes their entire story. "Eating ramen with a promising newcomer. Managers with us as well." The post is a hit, with fans recalling her long-held belief in his talent. For Natsumi, it's a public declaration. She was the one who discovered his true talent, and now, their battle, one filled with mutual respect and a history only they share, will continue on forever. Whew, that was intense. If you loved this recap, like the video and comment below which part was your favorite. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next saga. And hey, before you leave, dive deeper. Click on a recommended video right here on your screen. See you next time.